Hey, what's going, y'all? It is yours truly once again. See, the thing about poverty is wealth is, well, just check this out if y'all will. I'm not really trying to be, more so going word for word as far as what you may look up as far as the definition of being poor in poverty. But just based on the popular narrative of it, just think about it this way. At least, I'll tell y'all where I'm coming from with this. Now, for me, the whole idea of just poverty is different from being poor to me, because to me, poverty is just kind of, just how you started from nothing. But that doesn't necessarily mean you were poor. It just means that's just the way you came up. Just you came from a family that was used to living off little means. You know what I'm saying? They were very minimalistic with the way that they lived their life and everything like that. They were used to just living with less, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were poor. You find a lot of third world people that can relate to this, that their family were still okay as far as, how the kids were brought up, on just little means. You know what I'm saying? But everybody was still doing good. Everybody still came up good. And them were some of the best experiences. It's just those who grew up in a sense of poverty, of just living off just a little bit instead of a lot, like some people. And I think that is wealth right there, because you experience love. You know what I'm saying? You experience the effectiveness of your family around you all the time. And what we may call survival in this day and time is just a way of life for them. The people that grew up in poverty, as far as just growing up with a little bit. So as far as just all the things that we're freaking out about in society, as far as the way society is shifting, in places of where there's poverty, people are used to living without, but yet there was still a lot of love. There was still a lot of provisions made. So there wasn't this thing about always fretting and fearing for your survival. I mean, your way of life is just more or less reflective of what survival should be all about. Whereas you get around a family that has wealth per se, their survival depends on their wealth. Yeah, so to me, that's actually that's actually poverty. That's why I say the wealth, the poverty is wealth, and the wealth is poverty. You know what I'm saying? So if you flip that to the other side, you deal with families that have been well-to-do and they've had it all. But yet there's no love there. There's no connection. There's no affection. They're used to having a lot, so they're not used to doing a lot as far as having love and affection for each other. And just knowing that, as far as surviving, we're thriving. We're not needing to survive. We're thriving. But there's a problem with that, because basically thriving is your way of life. Just surviving is not your way of life. So if you ever came into a situation of survival, you wouldn't understand what it means to really survive. My definition of what it means to survive is just to live within your means and be minimal, to where you're not affected by sudden change. That's my definition of survival. So in essence, in a lifestyle of where you're thriving and you've never had to really survive per se, sudden change would affect you a whole lot. It would affect your upbringing a whole lot too. So that's really what I have to say overall as far as why I feel poverty is wealth and wealth is poverty. So now you're talking about those that are poor and those that are rich. That's the in-between part as far as the poverty and the wealth is concerned. Because just because you're poor, that doesn't mean you're in poverty as far as truly learning how to live minimally. You're just poor. You're in a bad time. You're in a bad crutch right now as far as what society has brought your way. And just because you're rich doesn't mean you're wealthy. So that means you really aren't thriving. You're just trying to find a way to get to the top. Heck, I'd rather be close to the poverty side than to the wealthy side. But at least I know if the Creator ever brought riches my way, I'll still have the mentality of someone that grew up in poverty. Because it even says in the word it's easy for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. Real talk. So with all that said, I mean, one thing I want to end this video with is I think about a lot of how hip hop came to be in this day and age. It was based on people coming from a similar struggle of poverty. And so the lyrics reflected our views as far as how we came up through poverty. But that doesn't mean we were necessarily poor. That just means that our families, the way we grew up, living minimalistically through the way that we grew up a lot of times. And that made a lot of us more wholesome. That made a lot of us more soulful. And we forgot all about that, especially as a lot of wealth and riches started to be introduced into hip hop and into so-called black culture. And other cultures too that aren't black. You know, I can just go down a list of different cultures that were affected by riches and what we think is wealthy. We forgot about what it means to just live within our means. And so we're truly not wealthy. And to me, that's not healthy. And even the ones that are wealthy aren't really healthy. Signing out.